Stop scrolling. This message will save you from a dangerous trap. Someone finally confessed the truth about you, and this is not something you should ignore. Before you scroll away, understand this clearly. Not every message reaches you by accident. Some moments arrive with a deeper purpose, and this could be one of them. Stay with this message until the end, because what you are about to hear may explain situations, emotions, and changes you have been experiencing recently. There are moments in life when truth begins to surface in unexpected ways. Sometimes it comes through people, sometimes it comes through events, and sometimes it comes through sudden realizations that cannot be ignored. What makes this different is the feeling that something important has shifted behind the scenes. A confession has been made. A truth that was once hidden is now beginning to surface. And whether you realize it or not, this truth is connected to your journey, your direction, and your next stage of life. But here is where you must be careful, because moments of revelation often come alongside confusion. When truth begins to appear, it can create emotional uncertainty. And in that uncertainty, dangerous traps can form. These traps do not always look harmful. In fact, they often appear during emotional vulnerability, when clarity is the hardest to maintain. That is why awareness is your protection. Not fear, not panic, but awareness. When you begin to observe situations instead of reacting emotionally, you regain control over your perception. You start seeing what is real instead of what feels overwhelming. There is something powerful happening in your life right now. Certain people, situations, or memories may suddenly feel different. You may not fully understand why, but something inside you is shifting. This is not random. It is awareness trying to surface. The confession or truth that has been revealed is not meant to confuse you. It is meant to guide you, to show you what has been hidden, to help you recognize what no longer belongs in your path, and to prepare you for what comes next. Many people miss these moments because they react too quickly. They let emotion override understanding. But those who pause, observe, and reflect begin to see patterns others cannot see. So if this message found you, it is not an accident. It is a reminder to slow down, pay attention, and trust your inner awareness more than external noise. Because once truth begins to reveal itself, nothing can remain hidden forever. And what is being shown to you now may be the beginning of a much bigger realization. A hidden truth about you is being revealed at the right time. There are moments in life when something begins to shift quietly in the background, long before you are fully able to understand it. You may not see it clearly at first, but you can feel it. Certain situations start to feel different, people behave in unexpected ways, and your thoughts begin to question things you once accepted without hesitation. This is often how hidden truths begin to surface, not in loud or dramatic ways, but through subtle changes that slowly shape your awareness. What you once overlooked starts to stand out. What once felt normal begins to feel uncertain, and what once seemed stable starts to reveal deeper layers you never noticed before. This process is not random, and it is not meaningless. It often happens at the exact moment when your life is ready to move into a new stage of understanding. The truth about you, your path, or the people around you does not always arrive when you expect it. Instead, it appears when you are capable of recognizing it without being overwhelmed by it. This is why timing is so important. If everything was revealed too early, it could create confusion or emotional pressure that clouds judgment. But when the right moment arrives, clarity begins to form naturally, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. You may start noticing patterns you ignored before, or memories that suddenly make more sense in a new light. These experiences are not meant to disturb you, but to guide you toward awareness. They help you see beyond surface-level understanding and into the deeper reality of what has been unfolding around you. Sometimes the truth about you is not something new being added to your life, but something old finally being understood in the correct way. And when that understanding begins to settle in, it changes the way you see everything moving forward. Not every message or situation is random, some carry deeper meaning. There are moments in life when you encounter something that feels too specific, too timely, or too aligned with your thoughts to simply dismiss as coincidence. A message appears at the exact moment you are questioning something. A situation unfolds that seems to reflect what you were already feeling inside. Or a conversation touches on something you have been silently thinking about. In these moments, it becomes difficult to ignore the possibility that not everything is random. While many events in life are naturally ordinary and unplanned, there are experiences that seem to carry a deeper sense of direction, as if they are pointing you towards something you are meant to notice. The challenge is that most people are trained to overlook these moments. They are taught to label everything as chance, to move on quickly, and to avoid reading too deeply into situations. But awareness requires a different approach. It asks you to slow down and observe instead of immediately dismissing what you feel or notice. Sometimes meaning is not obvious on the surface. It is hidden beneath repetition, timing, and emotional impact. When something continues to reappear in different forms, it may not be random at all. It may be a pattern trying to get your attention. This does not mean every event carries a hidden message, but it does mean that some experiences are worth pausing for reflection instead of automatic reaction. The mind often seeks comfort in labeling things as coincidence because it feels simpler and less overwhelming. However, ignoring patterns entirely can sometimes lead to missed understanding. Awareness is about balance. It is the ability to remain open without becoming fearful and observant without becoming overwhelmed. When you begin to notice that certain situations repeat or that certain thoughts are mirrored in your external experiences, it invites you to consider a deeper level of understanding. Not everything is meant to confuse you. Some things are meant to wake you up to what you may have been overlooking for too long, and when you start paying attention to those moments, your perception of life begins to shift in ways that cannot easily be ignored. A confession or revelation is shifting your understanding of your life. There are moments when something is revealed to you, directly or indirectly, that changes the way you see everything you thought you understood. It may come through a conversation, a realization, or even a sudden awareness that something you believed was not the full picture. In that instant, your internal world begins to shift. What once felt certain starts to feel uncertain, and what you accepted without question begins to take on a new meaning. A confession or revelation has a powerful effect because it does not simply add new information. It reshapes the meaning of everything that came before it. Suddenly, past events feel different. Past words carry new weight. Past situations begin to connect in ways you did not recognize before. This shift can feel uncomfortable because it challenges the version of reality you were holding on to. But discomfort is often the first sign that understanding is expanding. When something hidden becomes visible, it forces the mind to reorganize how it interprets people, situations, and experiences. Not everything revealed is easy to process immediately, but that does not make it less important. In fact, many of the most significant turning points in life begin with something being exposed that was previously unknown or misunderstood. The mind naturally resists sudden changes in perception because it prefers stability, even if that stability is based on incomplete information. But over time, clarity begins to settle in, and what once felt confusing starts to make sense. A revelation is not meant to destabilize you. It is meant to correct your direction. It helps you see what was hidden, so you can respond with greater awareness rather than assumption. And while the initial impact may feel overwhelming, it often leads to a deeper understanding of yourself, your relationships, and your path forward. When truth begins to shift your perception, it is not the end of your understanding. It is the beginning of a clearer one that allows you to move forward with greater insight and awareness than before. Dangerous traps often appear during moments of emotional confusion. Some of the most dangerous situations in life do not begin when everything is clear, but when emotions are at their highest and judgment becomes less stable. Emotional confusion creates a space where decisions are no longer guided purely by logic, but by reaction, assumption, and inner pressure. In these moments, the mind becomes more vulnerable to misinterpretation because it is trying to process too much at once without full clarity. This is exactly when traps, whether emotional, psychological, or situational, tend to form. Not because someone is deliberately seeking harm, but because confusion reduces awareness, and reduced awareness increases risk. When a person is emotionally overwhelmed, they often look for immediate relief or quick answers. This urgency can lead them to accept explanations that feel comforting rather than those that are truly accurate. It can also cause them to trust situations or people without fully observing the deeper patterns involved. In this state, even small influences can feel much larger than they are, and decisions can be made based on temporary feelings rather than long-term understanding. That is why emotional confusion is not just a feeling, it is a condition that can distort perception. Traps do not always appear as obvious dangers. More often, they appear as solutions, opportunities, or reassurances during moments when a person is least grounded. When emotions are high, the ability to detect inconsistency becomes weaker. This is why awareness is essential, especially during emotionally charged periods. Awareness does not mean ignoring emotions. It means observing them without allowing them to completely take control of interpretation. When you learn to pause during emotional intensity, you create space between feeling and action. In that space, clarity has a chance to return. You begin to see whether something is truly aligned with your situation or simply appearing convincing because of how you feel in the moment. This ability to slow down internally is what protects you from decisions made in confusion, and it allows you to step outside of situations that may look safe on the surface but are unstable underneath. Discernment and awareness are your strongest protection right now. There comes a point in life where external guidance is no longer enough, and you begin to rely more on your own ability to sense what is right, what is misleading, and what is quietly shaping your direction. This ability is called discernment, and it is not something that develops overnight. It is built through experience, reflection, and the willingness to observe situations more deeply instead of reacting to them immediately. When discernment is strong, you are no longer easily influenced by surface appearances. You begin to notice what is consistent and what is unstable, what feels aligned and what feels forced, what adds clarity and what creates confusion. Awareness works alongside discernment. While discernment helps you interpret situations, awareness helps you notice them in the first place. Without awareness, important details go unseen. Without discernment, even visible details can be misunderstood. Together, they form a kind of internal protection system that allows you to navigate complex situations without losing clarity. This is especially important during times of uncertainty, when emotions are active and decisions feel more sensitive than usual. Many challenges people face are not the result of a single moment, but a series of overlooked signals, small inconsistencies that were not questioned, repeated patterns that were not analyzed, subtle feelings that were ignored in favor of convenience or comfort. Over time, these small oversights can accumulate into situations that feel overwhelming. But when awareness is active, those early signals are no longer invisible. They become meaningful indicators that guide better understanding. Discernment also helps you slow down your reactions. Instead of responding immediately to every situation, you begin to observe it first. You allow space for understanding before action. This shift alone can prevent many misunderstandings, misjudgments, and unnecessary complications. It creates a mental distance between what is happening and how you respond to it, allowing clarity to return before decisions are made. When both awareness and discernment are active, you are no longer easily pulled by confusion or pressure. You begin to see beyond surface-level emotions and into the structure of situations themselves. And in that clarity, you gain the ability not just to react to life, but to move through it with intention, stability, and a stronger sense of direction. A spiritual wake-up call is pointing you toward a new direction. There are moments in life when something within you begins to shift in a way that cannot be easily explained. It is not always dramatic, and it does not always arrive with clear answers, but it creates a sense that you are being guided towards something different from what you previously understood. This inner shift often feels like a quiet interruption in your usual way of thinking. Old beliefs start to feel less convincing, familiar patterns begin to lose their strength, and situations you once accepted without question start to feel like they need deeper reflection. This is often how a spiritual or inner wake-up call begins, not through external noise, but through internal awareness rising to the surface. When this kind of shift happens, it can feel unsettling at first because it challenges the structure of your previous understanding. You may begin to question decisions, relationships, or directions that once felt stable. However, this questioning is not meant to create confusion. It is meant to expand your perception. Growth often requires you to see beyond what was previously enough for you. And when your awareness expands, your old perspective naturally begins to change. A wake-up call does not always tell you exactly where to go. Instead, it shows you where you can no longer remain. It highlights limitations that were previously unnoticed and gently pushes you toward a broader understanding of your path. This process is not about fear or urgency, but about alignment. It is about recognizing when something inside you is no longer fully connected to the direction you are moving in. As this awareness develops, you may begin to notice new thoughts, new questions, and new possibilities emerging. These are not random. They are part of your inner system adjusting to a deeper level of understanding. Even if you do not yet see the full picture, the shift itself is meaningful. It signals that your perception is evolving and that you are becoming more conscious of the choices and directions shaping your life. In time, what once felt like confusion transforms into clarity, and what once felt like uncertainty becomes the beginning of a more intentional and awakened path forward. As we come to the end of this message, take a moment to absorb what has been revealed. Every part of this speech points to one powerful truth. Your life is never as random as it appears in the moment. What feels confusing, overwhelming, or sudden is often the result of patterns, signals, and inner shifts that have been building quietly beneath the surface for a long time. The dangerous trap is not always something external. It is often the inability to notice what is already unfolding within and around you. When emotions are high, when situations feel uncertain, or when revelations begin to surface, it becomes easy to misinterpret what is happening. But awareness changes everything. When you slow down, observe, and reflect, instead of reacting immediately, you begin to see the structure behind the experience rather than just the surface of it. Remember this: not every situation is random, not every feeling is meaningless, and not every ending is a failure. Sometimes what appears as disruption is actually redirection. Sometimes what feels like confusion is actually preparation. And sometimes what feels like loss is actually the removal of what no longer belongs in your path. Discernment and awareness are your strongest protection. They allow you to see beyond emotion, beyond pressure, and beyond appearance. They help you recognize patterns before they fully form and understand situations before they fully unfold. And when you combine awareness with patience, you gain the ability to respond with clarity instead of confusion. If this message reached you at the right time, it is not by accident. It is a reminder to pay attention, not only to what is happening around you, but also to what is shifting within you. Because life does not only speak through events, it speaks through awareness. So as you leave this message, carry this truth with you. When you become aware, you are no longer inside the confusion, you are observing it. And in that awareness, the trap loses its power. Stay alert, stay grounded, and trust the clarity that begins to rise when you choose to see instead of react. Because once you truly see the pattern, you are already free from it.